Welcome back everyone. My name is Joel Feld and today's video is all about how to change your email address that's associated with your Apple account. Here we go. This video is going to cover a lot of different scenarios of how to change your Apple account to a different email address, some of which you may not even know existed. In fact, I have a little cheat sheet on my desktop here. I have actually 7 different scenarios. How to change an iCloud primary Apple account to a third-party email, such as such and such at iCloud.com to a Gmail or iCloud to Outlook. Second scenario will be how to change a primary account to a secondary iCloud alias, how to change a third-party email to an iCloud alias, how to change a third-party email to secondary alias, how to change third-party email to another third-party email, how to change an Apple account that is not even an email address. Yes, very true. If you have an Apple ID or an Apple account that is so old that it's not even an email address yet, which apparently I do for some reason, I'm going to show you how that works also. And then also change an Apple account that is a web-only account, which, did you know that you can actually have an Apple account that's not associated with any device? It's only on the web. So lots of crazy different options here. Hopefully this will cover every scenario possible. Now this video can get long, so I'd highly recommend to use the chapter markers in the description below, or to use the playback speed that YouTube has built in so you can speed me up or slow me down just so that you can make sure you get to the correct spot in this video so you don't have to watch the entire thing. In addition to this video here, I have several other videos that could be helpful. This one here is how to create a brand new Apple account. So if you don't have any Apple account whatsoever, check this video out. I have another video of how to create an iCloud email alias, so that one can be helpful as well. If you're ever in the scenario where you forgot your password, which can be extremely frustrating, here is another video of how to reset and change your Apple account password. And if you're completely fed up with Apple in general and you want to permanently delete your Apple account forever, I have a video for that also. I will link all of these in the description down below. I will be switching amongst iPhones, iPads, and a Mac computer to try and show you the full variations and full options for all of these changes. So let's start off on the computer. Regardless of what scenario we're working on, we're always going to be looking at these accounts in a couple different locations. One is iCloud.com, because iCloud.com is kind of the source of truth of where all of your information synchronizes. When you take a photograph on your phone, it sends that to iCloud.com. iCloud says, hey, you have an iPad over here and a Mac over here. So it sends that photograph to both of these devices. So I always think of iCloud.com as your source of truth, because any information that gets synchronized to it often gets synchronized back down to other devices that you're signed into. So this video here about iCloud and just how it works is extremely helpful. The second website is appleid.apple.com. This is a website that is designed to manage your account in general, because your Apple account is used not only for iCloud for your photos and contacts and calendars, but it can also be used for purchases, your subscriptions, your app store, all of that. And then the third place that we always look at and verify is the system settings amongst your iPhone, iPad, and your computer. That's where you're signed into that Apple account and you can see and choose what information you're synchronizing with that account within your device. Those are the 3 main places that we're going to go to for all of these different accounts. So I'm going to start off with this CocoFeld1 at iCloud.com, because that is in reference to the video that I've recently created about how to create an iCloud alias. So on the computer here, if I go up to the Apple, choose System Settings, and choose the account in the top left, you'll notice this user account on this Mac is signed in with this iCloud account. If I go to the iPhone, I'll choose Settings, touch my Apple account at the top, and you'll notice it's the same exact Apple account up there. And if I go to the settings on the iPad, choose Joel Feld in the top left, notice it's the same Apple account. So all 3 of these are on the same page. So the goal is I want to change CocoFeld1 at iCloud.com to a third-party email address like Gmail. So let's open up Safari. We're going to go to iCloud.com because I want to check the source of truth. We're going to choose sign in. And it automatically wants to fill in the password or the user account that's signed in. So notice, do you want to sign in with CocoFeld1? Yes, I do. I'll do sign in with password, type in my password, choose continue. And notice it's the same exact account, CocoFeld1 at iCloud.com. And if I expand this a little bit, in the top right, if I click on the little profile picture, I can choose manage Apple account. What this actually does is, because I'm already signed into iCloud.com, it's going to open up a new tab, take me to appleid.apple.com and sign me in automatically. So as we can see here, it has joelfeld1 at iCloud.com there. So when I click on email and phone numbers, here is where I can manage all the email addresses that are associated to this Apple account, as well as phone numbers that are trusted devices. I do have an older video that talks about how to change an Apple account. This was prior to Apple rebranding Apple account from Apple ID. So some of it still is relevant, but some of it is completely different. Now, if I chose to click the minus sign on the primary email account and paste in this new Gmail account, when I choose change primary email, it's going to say, hey, you need to continue on one of your devices, either an iPhone, iPad, or iPod Touch, into the settings. It actually doesn't allow me to change it here. But what I can do is click the plus sign and add this email address, choose continue, and it's going to send a verification code to that email address. So let's open up a new window here. We're going to go to gmail.com. I'm going to paste that in, sign in, type in the password. I don't need password to save it. And here is an email address from Apple saying verify your email account. So I'm going to copy this and go back to iCloud or appleid.apple.com, paste that in and choose continue. So now I have added this email address, this brand new Gmail, to this Apple account. If I go to my phone here and go back into the settings, if I touch sign in and security, we should now see the joelfeldtest@gmail.com. If I do the same thing on the iPad, sign in security, joelfeldtest@gmail.com. Perfect. So we started off with an iCloud email address. As the primary, we want to change it to a Gmail. We've added that Gmail account. Notice on the phone here, if I select joelfeldtest@gmail.com, it's prompting me, do I want to add this as a FaceTime and iMessage? I can choose yes on the devices. It really doesn't matter. When I touch that email address, there's a little toggle switch to say make primary. If I touch that, it says make joelfeldtest@gmail.com your primary. Well, yes, I will. So I'll choose make primary. It wants the passcode for my phone. I'll type that in. And it says primary email address updated. You can now use it and sign in. Choose done. So now at the very, very top, it says joelfeldtest@gmail.com. No longer the cocofeld1@icloud.com. And that is now the new email address that's associated to this Apple account. I'll touch OK here, touch OK there. So let's go back to the computer here. Notice it still says cocofeld1@icloud.com. That's because I need to refresh this page. If I do that, it should change. And it does. joelfeldtest@gmail.com. Let's go back to iCloud.com. Notice cocofeld1@icloud.com, refresh, and joelfeldtest@gmail.com. Let's go on the iPad here. Let's just kind of swipe out of settings and touch my account. Notice it still says cocofeld1@icloud.com, and same thing on my phone, but that will change eventually, or you can just sign out and sign back in with the new primary. But if I touch sign in security on both of these, you'll notice the most important is the primary email is joelfeldtest@gmail.com. That's exactly what I wanted to do. This Gmail account is now an Apple account. Click up here. If I wanted to change it to contact joelfeldtest@icloud.com, if I copy this and click the minus sign for Gmail and paste that in, do change primary, it's going to tell me to go to my iPhone or iPad. So on these devices here, if I go on the phone here and choose contact joelfeldtest@icloud.com, I can touch make primary. I will select that, type in the code again, And now the primary has been updated. And what's going to happen is you'll notice on the phone, the Gmail is still there. The other aliases are still there, but now the contact is now the primary. So if I refresh this page here, it will change to contact Joel Feld test, refresh iCloud. The email address has changed. And if I go back to the iPad here, kind of refresh, notice at the very top, it changed as well. Let's go back again. Let's change it back to the Gmail just because. I'll do that on the iPad. Touch Joel Feld test at gmail.com. Touch that, make primary, type in the passcode on the iPad. Perfect, it's updated. This is so much easier than it used to be before. But I will say I have tested this a lot. I don't know the exact number, but if you change it way too many times, it's not going to let you change it, especially if you're trying to do from an iCloud to another iCloud. Notice every time you change it, you're going to get an email address from Apple saying your account has changed. So long story short, that is example number 1, how to change your iCloud primary Apple account to a third-party email address. Next, we're going to change the primary account to a secondary iCloud alias. We're going to use the example of joelbfeld at iCloud.com, and let's see what that account looks like on iCloud.com and AppleID.com. So iCloud.com here, we'll sign in, use different accounts, go, continue with password. Notice I'll get the prompts on my iPhone and iPad here, so I'll touch allow, type in the code 926467. Don't need to trust the browser, don't care. So if we look at mail here and then go to the settings, we can see that the primary email address is joelbfeld at iCloud.com and the alias is joelbfeld.lwj at iCloud.com. Now, usually Apple has some restrictions with iCloud aliases. Not only can you create 3 aliases at a time, or you can only have 3 total, but if you delete one, you have to wait 7 days in order to add a new one. And then also there's this weird kind of, it's hard to find on their Apple support, but if you've changed your Apple ID so many times, it does lock you out of like a 30-day time period where you can't change aliases to be the primary. Now, this was back when they were still Apple IDs, so we're going to see what this looks like in the new Apple account era. So this is the alias here. And what we're going to do, if I go into the phone, I should be able to see the same thing. Sign in and security, the primary and the secondary, same thing on the iPad. Sign in and security. We'll have the primary, Joel B. Feld, and the joelbfeld.lwj. Now, what's really nice about this is it should be as easy on the iPad or the phone just to toggle this button. Make primary. Yes, we want to make that the primary. Asks for the passcode on the iPad. And primary email address updated. Perfect. Touch done. Notice on the computer, I got an email up at the top. And if I refresh on the phone here, go back to sign in and security. Notice at the very top, that's now the new primary. Let's go to the home page of iCloud.com. Let's refresh this. And there we go. That's the new primary as well. Let's go to my account and head to the Apple account page, appleid.apple.com, joelbfeld.lwj at iCloud.com. How easy is that? It was way easier now than it was before. If I click on here, I see both the accounts. I'm curious, I don't think it can change anything from this website anymore. If I type that one back in, let's see here. Continue. You can only add the @iCloud address that is already on file in your account. Well, it is on my account. That doesn't make sense. Now I'm curious how many times I can change this iCloud to go back and forth before it blocks me, because I know it blocks you. So let's go on my phone here and let's change this to the primary account. Enter the code. All right, so now that's the new primary. We'll refresh Apple account page here. Notice it reflects in the top. Refresh iCloud.com. Notice it reflects there. And refresh on, there you go, on the iPad. Now for fun, let's just keep on changing it. So that's what, twice now. Let's add another alias. We'll just do Joel B. Feld 1. Is that taken? I don't know. Create. and we'll do Joel B. Feld 2. Create. All right, we're gonna try and break this as much as we can. I have to add them to Apple account here. Yeah, I have to add them here. That's right. Okay, so let's go back here. Settings. We're gonna add in Joel B. Feld 1. Copy that. Come back here, add the account, continue. We're gonna get a verification email. Let's refresh that. There it is, verify, copy that. We'll go back to the other page, paste that in. There we go. So now Joel B. Feld 1 shows up. Now if I go on the phone here, sign in, that's where it is. Yes, yes, yes. Okay, same thing with on the iPad. Let's do that one more time. Let's copy and add that other alias. We're gonna do number 2, continue, go back, get the code, verify. Essentially what I'm trying to figure out here is how many times you can change it before it doesn't let you change it. So we're back at this point. We have all of those. Notice you'll get the messages on the iPhone and iPad and the Mac. If I were signed into the Mac, I'm not getting these prompts on the Mac because the Apple account that's signed into system settings is not like the iPhone or iPad. So I'll just choose yes for here and there. Go back to the phone. Let's change this. Number 1 can be the primary this time. 43200. Here we go. All right, that's updated. Let's refresh this. All right, number 1 is updated. Let's change it now on the iPad. We'll make number 2. All right, that's done. Okay. Number 2 is now the primary. What was the original one? Just Joel B. Feld. Let's try going back to that one. Oh, there's that prompt again. Okay, let's make the original iCloud. Okay, that's doing it. I hope someone's keeping count. So Joel B. Feld, Joel B. Feld. All right, we're still golden. Let's go back to this other one. Let's make that the primary. joelbfeld.lwj, that's at iCloud.com. Oh, geez, I tell you what, it's still letting us change it. That's the primary. That's the primary. We'll refresh here. And notice if I go back to iCloud here, back to the main page, refresh this, it'll reflect there as well. Let's go back to the main one. I mean, how many times will it let you? This is way easier than it was before. I tell you what, you could not change it this many times. Okay, that's changed back. Okay. Let's go back to number 1. Let's see what happens. Number one. Okay. It's letting us do it. So I guess if you're able to do it this many times, if you are that undecisive, maybe you shouldn't be changing your Apple account. But as far as I can tell, it just lets you keep on changing and changing and changing. Yeah, Joel B. So let's go back to the original, Joel B. Feld at iCloud.com. Change that to the primary because I'm having too much fun here. Refresh this and refresh Apple account. Go back. And there we go. So that's scenario number 2. Clearly you can have multiple iCloud aliases and switch back and forth to whatever you want your primary to be. So that is fantastic. Let's go on to number 3. We are going to change an Outlook email address to an iCloud alias. Instead of going from iCloud to iCloud alias, we're going to go from a third-party email address to iCloud alias. Let's see how that works. So we're going to do sign in manually on the phone because I don't have another device here. So we are going to do joel.feld at outlook.com. Continue, type in my password. All right, didn't get code. I'm not going to get a code because I'm not signed into any device for two-factor authentication. So I need to say didn't get a code, and then it's going to say send code to a telephone number of whatever is trusted with that Apple account. So when I touch that, I'll probably have to go to my personal phone here, and that's going to go to Google Voice because I've used my cell phone so much that it doesn't allow me to use my personal cell phone to be associated with Apple accounts anymore. So I had to find a clever way. So I created a Google Voice number, and that's what I have on some of these devices. So I never know. All right, so 536-254 will authenticate. Okay, now it's asking me, do I want to add the telephone number of this test phone? Sure, why not? It doesn't hurt. I'm sure at one point this number also will get blocked, but that's beside the point. Oh, and terms and conditions. It looks like I haven't even signed into this account. So let's sign out before I go and agree to the terms and conditions here. Let's go on to iCloud.com on the computer and sign in. I'm curious. Oh, now it shows on the phone. Yes, I'm a trusted device. 825048. And I could trust those browser messages if I want. Okay, so here we go. So I'll agree to the terms and conditions. And while this is signing in, let's go to Mail for this account. Go to the settings. And so there is only one alias. So actually, okay, so here's the weird thing. I signed in with joel.feld@outlook.com. And when I do that, the primary Apple iCloud account is jfeld1@icloud.com. And I have an alias for joel.feld.training@icloud.com. So on the phone here, I'm signed in with joel.feld@outlook.com. And notice that's the primary email address, but this is the primary iCloud email address. So that's the confusing part. So let's take a step back though. Let's get the iPad on board. So I'm going to touch Apple account on there. And instead of signing in manually, I'm going to do use another Apple device. And that way, when I bring this device closer, notice it says sign into iPad, get started. So I will say yes. And then it gives us this funky little nebula stargazer thingy. And that synchronizes. That's a very quick way for me to take the credentials. I'll say set up for me. Take the credentials already signed in on this iPhone and transfer it easily to a brand new device, iPhone or iPad, iPod Touch that you already have. iPad, type in the code. This just saves you the trouble of manually signing in. So while these two are signing in, let's take a step back. Let's go to Manage Apple Account. So here's how this one is laid out. The primary Apple account is joel.feld@outlook.com. Now, because that's a third-party email not associated with Apple email, if I go back to iCloud, the reason that this jfeld1@icloud.com is a primary address, it's because when I signed in to joel.feld@outlook.com from any of these devices, the moment that I went to the mail option for iCloud email, it would have prompted me to create a brand new email address ending in @icloud.com. Because you can't use Apple's mail system without having an iCloud account. So that's what this jfeld1@icloud.com is. This was the very first iCloud email address created after signing in with my joel.feld@outlook.com, if that makes sense. So if I go back to manage the account here, I'm curious on the computer, if I select this email address, we'll do the minus and do Apple new account, change primary. I'm curious if it's going to prompt us like it did before to go to the iPhone and iPad, which it didn't. See, this is the weird part, and this is why it's so confusing for so many people out there, because there's these slight inconsistencies. So now, essentially, we had this third-party email address, joel.feld@outlook.com, and we've had this iCloud on there for a very long time, and we just changed it from apple.com or appleid.apple.com where we couldn't before with the other two accounts. If I refresh this, notice already at the top on the iPhone, it says jfeld1. And same thing with the iPad here. Sign in security, sign in and security. The primary address is the jfeld1@icloud.com. And that's exactly what we just changed it to. Now I'm curious, can we do it again? Let's change it back to Outlook. Let's see what happens here. Go minus, change that in. It wants the password. There we go. It was successful. Go back to these accounts, go back in, sign in, sign in. There we go. Outlook on both of them. Just for fun, let's refresh this page and let's refresh. Well, iCloud here was probably already at Outlook before, which it was, but Apple account is. Okay, let's try and change it to the secondary iCloud is what we're trying to do. So let's go here, paste that in, change primary. Okay, so this is where we get the same message as before. So let's come to the phone here. joel.feld.training@icloud.com. Toggle this switch, make primary, and type in the code. Fancy that, look at that. So now that is the new primary. Let's refresh Apple account page. Let's refresh the iPad, go back to sign in and security. Notice joel.feld.training. Let's go to iCloud, refresh. And there we go, joel.feld.training@icloud.com. I like it. It's so much easier than it used to be. Let's try and change it back to, on the iPad here, change it back to jfeld1 at iCloud.com. There we go, success. Go back, refresh. Go back on here on the phone and refresh. It's the primary. Refresh here. It's the primary account, and refresh here. It's the primary account as well. Anytime you change these Apple account email addresses, if you're ever asking, what's going to happen to all of my content? What's going to happen to all of my purchases that were created or my apps that were downloaded? If you're using the same Apple account for iCloud that you are for your app purchases, all of that information is going to stay the same. You're not going to lose anything. Now, there is a rare instance where you can use an Apple account for your iCloud account and then an Apple account for your app purchases. And I will demonstrate on my personal phone here. If I go to settings and then choose Joel Feld at the top, notice joelfeld@me.com is my primary iCloud account. But notice under media and purchases, it's a completely different Apple account. It's joel_feld@icloud.com. The only reason that I have two set up this way is because a long time ago, I had no idea what I was doing. And now I do. So had I known that 15 years ago, I wouldn't have done that. But that's how I got into this scenario. And there's no way to merge two Apple IDs. So long story short, you can have two Apple accounts on your device, but you can only use one for iCloud, the main syncing in your system settings, and one for subscriptions and purchases and that. I don't know why I talked about that, but that's what happens there. So back to this one. Scenario 3, change a third-party email address to an iCloud alias. I think we demonstrated that. We changed it a whole lot. Let's put it back to the Outlook on the phone here. We'll touch make primary. Updated. Beautiful. I like it. Let's refresh iCloud here. And we'll go, there it is, joel.feld@outlook. We'll refresh Apple account page. There it is. Let's just toggle back and go back into sign in and security. Joel.feld@outlook is the primary. Now on the iPhone and the iPad, and same with the Mac, if we were signed into the system settings, the email address that's at the top that still says jfeld1@iCloud on both of these, over time that should change to reflect the joel.feld@outlook.com. But also at any given time, we could come back here, sign out of this account on the iPad. Yep, I don't need to worry about keeping anything, signing out, doesn't matter. So I'm just going to do sign in manually, joel.feld@outlook.com, type in the password. I'll get a prompt on my phone here because it's tied with it. So 610660, signing in, passcode for the iPad. No, I don't need to merge any information. Let me sign out of the Apple account page. We'll sign out of iCloud here. On the iPad, joel.feld@outlook.com, which is this jfeld1@icloud.com because it's an alias. They're one of the same accounts, but this joel.feld is the primary. So that is how scenario number 3 works, changing third-party email to iCloud alias. Moving right along, we are going to now go to scenario 4 of change a third-party email address to secondary, which we kind of did, but let's just see what happens with this account. And we are going to change now working with a Yahoo email address. My third least favorite email account. No, I don't know. Probably. It's Microsoft. Okay, learn with Joel Feld. Oh my goodness, Feld at iCloud.com. Oh, not iCloud.com, silly. At yahoo.com. While this is logging in on the phone, let's go to Apple account. So we're going to copy this, sign in with a different account, type in the passcode on the phone. We are multitasking like crazy, I tell you what. That goes there. Continue. We don't need to merge on the phone. Two-factor authentication prompt on the phone here now that it's signed in. So 562527. Click OK. Not now. Okay. You know, I've been waiting to do this video for like almost a year now because I wanted to make sure I passed the 30-day limitation on all of these Apple accounts, or old Apple IDs, I should say. So half the time I don't even know what's on these. So it looks like I have, yeah, secondary email address, Learn with Joel Feld 2 and Learn with Joel Feld 3. Okay. So on the phone here that's signed in, and notice it reflects exactly what the Apple account page has. Let's sign in with the iPad. So what's the goal of this one? We're going to change this third-party email address, which is Yahoo, to a secondary alias. So let's actually see what the secondary alias is, because I specifically wrote that. So let's go back to sign in on iCloud.com. Use different account. We're going to use the Yahoo. Just can't help myself. Isn't that like a chocolate drink or something? I'm not sure. All right, so two-factor authentication. I will allow it on the iPad. We'll get the code 578486. Sure, let's trust it from here on out. Why not? All right, we'll go to mail, and then we're going to not save the password. Then we'll go to the gear and do settings. Okay, so the primary is Joel Feld 2. And the secondary is Joel Feld 3. This is kind of the same scenario where the original Apple account was created with the Yahoo, and then I went and created the aliases, or the first email address for iCloud with the Learn with Joel Feld 2, because I already had number 1 taken. So let's try and change the Apple account to number 3 to follow our scenario of changing a third-party email address to a secondary iCloud alias. So we're going to copy this on the computer, go and do change primary email address, prompting us for the password. Let's see if it lets us. Nope, it doesn't. So that's what I would expect. I don't know why it worked the last email. It doesn't make any sense. So again, on the phone here, let's go to Learn with Joel 3. Do primary address, make primary, type in the code of the phone. There we go. Just like that. Let's refresh Apple account webpage. No, I don't want to save the password. There it is. It's reflected as the primary. Let's go back here, home page, refresh. Learn with Joel Feld 3, and let's go to sign in security. Learn with Joel Feld 3 at iCloud.com, primary email address. Awesome. Let's see what happens if we change it to number 2. Type in the iPad passcode. Hey, it changes there. I swear, Apple, I will admit you did something right with Apple accounts. Now, if you could only allow us just to merge them. How hard is that? Just combine them. Not that hard. Well, probably is, but come on. You're Apple, you can do anything. So Learn with Joel Feld 2 is now the primary. Let's refresh on the phone. And it reflects that. We'll go back to Apple account, refresh, and there it is. Learn with Joel Feld 2 at iCloud.com. All right, so that is that account. Let's keep on moving to scenario number 5. We have a third-party email address to another third-party email address. So we're going to change it from learnwithjoelfeld at gmail.com to learnwithjoel at hotmail.com. Are we having fun yet? No. And we are going to sign in with Learn with Joel Feld. Different accounts. Okay. Learn with Joel Feld at gmail.com. All right. So notice here it's saying, hey, you got 2 numbers on file. Who do you want to send it to? I'm going to choose this bottom one because that's the cell phone. So I should get a text message here. There it is. So 946-135. Okay. No, I don't want to save it in passwords. Okay, so this email account, learnwithjoelfeld@gmail, is the only Apple account on here. So actually, I'm curious. Let's see what it looks like. If I've never actually created, or if I've never signed into iCloud.com here before, use different account. Again, the text message to this one. I'll get to signing into the phone and the iPad in a second here. 223-771. Could have chosen trust. That's okay. All right. Ooh, okay. Perfect. iCloud web only. Yes, we found one. Okay. Let me sign in on the phone here. Okay, that's signing in. Oh, I shouldn't have done that. Okay. Before I go on and touch agree, I'm not going to refresh this page. So if you've ever come across an iCloud web only Apple account, it's because that Apple account was never created in the settings of an iPhone or an iPad or a Mac computer. It was only created on iCloud or on Apple account or on appleid.apple.com. So notice here on the computer, there's literally no, let's see. Yeah, there's literally no photos. There's no, blanking on what the rest of them are, but there's no mail, there's no photos, all of that. So the first time signing in on the iPhone, do agree, signing in. I'm going to bet that once we refresh this page on Safari on the computer through the web browser, it's going to change from an iCloud web only to whatever it is. And the funny thing about iCloud web only, they literally only give you 1 GB of storage. So I know the 5 GB is extremely usage. Imagine having 1 GB. Like, why even bother? You just have to laugh at this point. Like 1 GB? Nah, nope, just doesn't make any sense. Okay, go back to iCloud homepage. Wait for this to sign in. While I do that, might as well just sign into the iPad here. Sign in manually, it'll be faster. Learn with joelfeld@gmail.com. Type in the password. Get a code on my phone here. Authentication 654188. There we go. All right, touch OK. So now notice on my phone, it shows 5 GB because now I've actually used this Apple account in the system settings of an iPhone or iPad. So I bet you if I refresh this page here, there we go. No more web iCloud. Notice if I scroll down, now I have the Find My, now I have reminders, I have photos, I have mail, and notice at the very top here, create your own iCloud email address. This is what I've been talking about with these other accounts. Because the original Apple account was created with a non-iCloud email address, when I click on mail here in iCloud, it's going to say, hey, if you want to use iCloud Mail, that's awesome, but you need to create a new email address, which becomes an iCloud primary alias. Whew, I tell you, there's so much. That's essentially what happens. If I do the same thing on the phone here, let's go back to, now that this account is signed in, if I go to iCloud and choose mail, notice it says set up, and same thing, choose your email address that you want to do. If I go to iCloud here on the iPad, yes, welcome. Notice mail, it says set up. So this is where you're choosing to create a new email address ending in @iCloud.com. So create another one. I have way too many. I'm glad it gives suggestions. Let's do feld.joel@icloud.com on the phone here. Let's do continue. Yes, confirm email address. Choose done. So now with the original gmail.com, and we're not even email to a third-party email. We got off track. I tell you what, let's just refresh this. There we go. Yes, we'll protect mail activity. Okay. If I go into the settings here, choose settings, notice the primary address now for iCloud is feld.joel@icloud.com. So back to the main purpose of this scenario, we got sidetracked. We are changing the third-party email to a third-party email. So we're going to add learnwithjoel@hotmail.com. So I'm going to select this. We're going to go back to manage your Apple account. Click the plus sign. We're going to put in that email address and then add one too many spaces there. We'll do continue. So now it's going to send a notification to that Hotmail email address that we will need to put in. So let's go to outlook.live.com. We're probably still signed into another account, which we are. So we're going to sign into a different account. And I copied with one space too many. So we'll do next. Type in the password. No, I don't want to save it. Yes, I want to stay signed in. All right, and verify your email address. So we'll copy this, go back to Apple account, paste and choose continue. We've added the Hotmail email address as an email address under this Apple account. If we refresh on the iPhone and iPad, notice we see the Hotmail address. Yes, we can add that for iMessage and FaceTime. Let's go back, do sign in and security. And there's the Hotmail address. Yes, yes, iCloud. So let's copy this on the computer. We're going to click on the minus sign, paste that in, change primary email address, type in the Apple account password, change primary, and there we go. Successfully changed. If we refresh this, it's Hotmail. Let's go back to iCloud here. We'll go back to the main page. Refresh. Should change from Gmail to Hotmail. Let's go back here. Sign in security. Hotmail. Sign in security and Hotmail. There we go. So changing from one third-party email address to another third-party email address. All right, so we changed that back to the Hotmail email address like we slated to do, changing third-party email address, Gmail to a Hotmail. So Hotmail is reflected on iCloud.com. Go back to Apple account. That is also the Hotmail.com, and it reflects in both the iPhone and the iPad. Now, just for fun, let's take this alias that we just created under this account. Go to the gear, do settings. Okay, I'm curious about this. If we go back, copy that. Let's go back to Apple account. If I go to the phone here, let's see if I can change it to the primary. Type in the code. And there we go. We'll refresh this and it changes the primary account there. Let's go back to the iPad. It's going to change it right there. And notice even on the iPad, fel.joel@icloud.com. It changed it already at the top. So just curious, let's go back to the Hotmail. Ooh, one thing to note, when we added that Hotmail, it took away the Gmail. So just be aware of that. And I don't think we can add that Gmail back. Let's try. Let's go copy. Paste that in. Nope, enter a valid email address. Oh, do I have too many spaces? I have too many spaces in. We'll do continue. Let's go to gmail.com. Gmail.com. Sign in. All right, let's make sure we have the right account here. So let's sign out of this one. We're going to use another account. Sign in with learnwithjoelfeld@gmail.com. No, we'll just continue. Not now. All right, verify email address. Select that. Copy this code. Come back here. Paste that in. Choose continue. All right, so now it added the Gmail and the Hotmail. Let's refresh this. Go back on the iPad. We see the Gmail and the Hotmail. Go back to the iPhone. Gmail and the Hotmail. Let's see if we can switch it back to the Gmail. Go to Gmail here, make that as a primary, select that. Type in the code on the iPad. Hey, it updated it. Let's refresh Apple account here. Not now. Refresh the iPhone. Notice on the iPhone, it said Gmail at the top. Gmail right there, Gmail here. Let's refresh iCloud homepage. Go back here, refresh. Look at that, so easy. Notice the iPad still says fel.joel@icloud.com instead of, notice on the iPhone, it says learnwithjoelfeld@gmail.com. Let's do it on the iPhone. Let's change it up. Let's go back to the Hotmail. Let's see how many times it lets us change it. There we go, updated primary. We'll refresh on here. There's the Hotmail, it's refreshed. Go back to the iPad. Hotmail is the primary. Hotmail is the primary on the phone. Refresh Apple account. And Hotmail is the account there. Now I'm curious, what happens if we delete the Gmail and remove it? It should remove from the iPhone, which it does, and it removes from the iPad, which it does. The question is, can we add it back in? How many times can you do that? So let's paste that email. Oops. Got one too many letters or spaces. Do continue. Hey, it looks like it might let us. We'll go back. Let's verify the email address. Copy this, type that in, continue. It adds the Gmail back in. So let's go back and refresh. There's the Gmail account. There's the Gmail account there. Let's change it from the iPad. One last time, make primary. Look at that. There's the primary. Go back, refresh on the iPhone here. learnwithjoelfeld@gmail.com is the primary. Let's refresh on Apple account. Hotmail to Gmail. Refreshed one more time. Gmail. So we started with Gmail, did a whole bunch of stuff. Now we're back to Gmail. So let's just end it by switching it back. Ooh, what happens if we go here? Select Hotmail, copy, replace it with the Gmail. So in theory, I'm thinking this is going to get rid of Gmail. So now it's just Hotmail, which it does. Let's go back on the phone here, refresh. Now Hotmail is the primary. Go back on the iPad. Hotmail is also the primary. Let's refresh here on Apple account, which it shows the Hotmail. And if we go to iCloud, refresh, shows the Hotmail. So that is scenario number 5 of changing a third-party email address that is an Apple account to another third-party email address and a whole bunch of other stuff. Let's sign out of the phone. Let's sign out of the iPad. We'll sign out of iCloud.com and sign out of Apple account. All right, sign out. Don't need to keep the stuff. Come on, iPad, play catch up. Now, this is one of my most favorite ones. Scenario number 6. You don't come across this all too often because you are no longer able to create an Apple account that's not an email address. So rewind like 20 some years ago. I know that even when I worked for Apple, you could create an Apple account. This was before it was iCloud, before it was Mobile Me, and then before it was just whatever it was. You could create an Apple account that wasn't even an email address. It could just be a username. So I actually still have this username here that is an Apple account. It's not an email address, but it's still an Apple account. So how does that work? If I go out to sign in Apple on appleid.apple.com, we'll do different address. Let's copy this username here, paste in the password, and you'll notice it says, hey, choose an email address for your account. Your current Apple account, Sportos43, is not an email address. Choose an email address to use as your Apple account. This was my nickname given by my brother's college friends when I used to visit them back at NIU Huskies, right in DeKalb, Illinois. I was probably way too young to be there, but my parents didn't know any better. Let's go and see what happens. Before we actually change or add an email address to this Apple account, I want to see what happens when we go to iCloud.com. I'm guessing we're going to get the same message. Maybe it looks a little bit different. Yes. Choose an email address for this account. Now, what happens if we go to a phone, sign in manually, choose done. Here is interesting. On the phone, because I'm logging in, it says Apple account security. This is also one of the big changes that Apple made where it requires two-factor authentication on any Apple account nowadays. And there's no way to disable it. So this is an Apple account. I'll call it an Apple ID because it's way before Apple accounts existed. It doesn't even have two-factor authentication on there. So here, when you sign into any device, you will verify your identity. I'm curious, let's do other options. And it says to protect your account, two-factor authentication is best to keep your account secure. Either upgrade account security or don't upgrade. Okay, let's do don't upgrade. So that signs us in. And it says change your Apple ID at appleid.apple.com. Could not sign in. Okay. Oh, but it's signing in. Interesting. I wonder how far we'll get with this account. I'm surprised I still had this account. Well, I'm half tempted to know if it's actually going to sign me in. If I touch back here, let's go back to continue. Still has my username and password there. What happens if I do other options? Let's do upgrade account security. Okay. Verify email address. I must have a secondary email account associated to this email address. Maybe this email is not good, so let's actually do learnwithjoel@icloud.com. Continue. Email address taken. The Apple account could not be created because Learn with Joel is no longer available. Choose a new one. Well, oh, this will be your new Apple account. No, I don't want that to happen. Verify your email address and use... Well, that's weird. Verify email address. Okay, send code. Verify email address. That's silly. Nope. Okay, let's do continue. No, that's where we were. Okay, let's do continue here. Well, let's back to there. Don't upgrade. Sign in. Change your Apple ID. Okay, so it looks like it really wants us... So if you're in this scenario, you might be having the same exact issue. Probably have to go to appleid.apple.com to change this account. Now the question is, when I go to... Let's go back to the computer here. Okay, so choose an email address for your account. If I do this at iCloud.com, it's probably not going to allow me to do it. Because you can't add iCloud.com, it's not going to let me do that. That's Apple's email. Let's do this. Because it wants me to add an email address, we need to put in an email address that's not already an Apple account, which, surprise, surprise, I have one. I have another email address here just for this reason. So let's make sure I can get into that account. Let's sign out of Google here. And while we sign in here, let's see what the iPhone does on there, because I'm really kind of curious. Let's do next. Password, don't save. Well, maybe this is an app account already. Let's see if it is. Let's just paste it in there for fun. Maybe it was at one point. Okay, we put the email address in there on Apple account. Verify your email address. Copy that, put in the code, click continue. Oh, security questions. Yes, so this is prior to two-factor authentication being forced. What is the name of your first pet? Dog. What is your favorite child's book? Book. What is the first beach you visited? A warm one. We're going to take a screenshot of this just because I'll probably forget those. Let's do continue. I'm surprised it let me use those answers. That's funny. Okay, click OK. Yes, account, Apple account and privacy. Do continue. No, don't want to say the password. Okay, manage your Apple ID. Fail to verify your identity. Well, what does that mean? Apple account has been updated. So let's try putting in that email address again. What is it? This one. There we go. Put in the password. That didn't work. Okay, what if it's got to be this one? No, that one didn't work. That one didn't work as well. Okay, let's go back and do forgot password. And we changed it to this Apple ID or this Gmail account. We need a new code. We need a new code. Maybe that is 81LY. Continue. I need to reset my password. Okay, let's answer security questions. Birth date. Oh, I hope I didn't lie on this one. 1/14/1985. Continue. Okay. Name of your first pet. Dog. Book. Continue. New password. Yes. Okay. Let's type in new password here. Reset password. Password is changed. Okay. Don't want it to save it. Let's do sign in. Notice I did get an email over here. Password's been reset. So we're going to paste in that email address, type in the password. We don't have two-factor authentication turned on, so it's going to prompt us to type in our super secret. Oh wait, oh, beach you visited. What did I say? Warm beach? Oh man, I don't remember. Let's go to screenshot. Oh, warm one. Whew. Close one. Warm one. Continue. All right, account security. So this is where we got the same message on the phone. So this is not doing anything. I'm just going to touch back and cancel out of this. This is where it's saying, hey, you need two-factor. So if I do other options, I can either don't upgrade or upgrade account security. I'll choose don't upgrade, and it probably lets us in maybe. Yes, it does. So it lets us in, and it literally gets rid of that old username. It doesn't even make it an alias. That's crazy. Let's sign out. Let's sign back in again because I want to see the two-factor authentication. So sign out. Put in the email address, type in the password, beach you visited, warm one, and book, continue. Ooh, and I want to sign into the phone here because I want to actually see what is the email address here. So joelbfeld.lwj@gmail.com. It's not every day you come across an Apple account that doesn't have two-factor authentication on it. Oh no, I don't want to use it. Other options. Don't upgrade. All right, let's go to iCloud. I want to see what that looks like. So let's cancel out of this. Not now. Sign in. Agree. Agree. You know, it would have probably been one of those web-only accounts, I'm guessing, because it had never been signed in until this. So I just screwed that up. Okay, account. Yep. So other options. Don't upgrade. Just curious if it looks any different. Probably not. It probably just answers or gives you that question for the security ones every single time. There we go. So we're back to here. Yep, it's got all the iCloud stuff. Notice at the very top, create your own iCloud email address. I'm signed in with the phone here. If I touch sign in and security, notice turn on two-factor authentication. There we go. Or change security questions. If I go on my personal phone, go to settings, my Apple account, sign in and security, I do not have the option for turn on two-factor authentication because you don't have an option to turn it on. I only have it where it's there, what is using it. So that's quite nice. And I don't have any option to change security questions because there's no security questions to change. All right, let's go to the iPad. Sign in manually. What is the email address here? joelbfeld.lwj@gmail.com. Continue. Type in the password. Okay, other options. You know what? Let's upgrade the security. So we're going to do that on the iPad here. And it says the phone number we will use is the phone number that is this one here. And you can choose use a different number if you wanted to, but I'll touch continue there. And I'm guessing these options under security will go away. Enter the passcode on the iPad. Don't merge stuff. Yep, settings. It wants the password on the phone to verify. So I'll type that in, sign in. Two-factor authentication, here we go. Back to square one. All right, allow 547-387. And honestly, two-factor authentication is awesome. There's really no reason not to have it turned on. So honestly, I'm glad Apple forces it because it's really a good security measure. So now on the phone, if I go back to sign in security, I don't have the options like it previously had. Same thing with the iPad. And if we go back to the Apple account here, well, let's just refresh this, continue. Sign in again. We were still at the login page. We never went past it. So now both iPhone and iPad get the message. So 631, 635. That's okay. No, I don't want to save the password. And there we go. So now there's the Apple account that has been changed from Sportos43, which was just the username, to an email address. So if you are in that scenario and you have that username, you're not going to be able to use it. However, what happens, can I use this as an iCloud account? So remember, because now we've created an Apple account that's a third-party email address. If I go back to iCloud, notice the create your own iCloud email account. So let's do set up, create email address. Can I use this as an iCloud? And it is available. Yes. Do continue, confirm. So now start using Apple Mail. Oh, I like this. All right. Yep. Protect the mail. Go to the settings, do settings, and there is the primary address. So now if I go back to Apple account, I can add that email address, touch continue. Nope, doesn't let me do it. Okay, hold on. I got excited. Oh, it automatically adds it as an alias. Duh. Okay, so I don't even have to add it at apple.com because I'm impatient. It adds it for you automatically because it's an alias. So now on the phone or the iPad, just like we were before, let's refresh the iPad. If I go on the phone, we'll make this the primary. Okay, yes to iMessage and FaceTime. We'll make this the primary, yes. Type in the code on the iPhone. There we go, done. We'll go back. Sign in security. Sportos43 at iCloud.com is the primary. Let's refresh an Apple account here. There it is. Let's go to iCloud and we'll go to the iCloud homepage settings. Refresh. There's Sportos43 at iCloud.com. Let's refresh on the iPad. And there it is. Awesome. And notice even on the iPad, it updated where it's supposed to. It just doesn't go fast. Has not updated on the phone, but notice it already updated on the iPad. Whew, that was fun. You don't really come across those and there's no going back. So I don't have any more Apple accounts that I can think of that are not an email address. Very cool. Now, last but not least is change the Apple account that is a web-only account. And honestly, we kind of did that already. Let's just sign out of here. We'll sign out of Apple account. Let's plug in this jbfeld43 at gmail.com. We'll go to sign in. Use different Apple account. Paste that in. Put in the password. All right. Oh, okay. We're at the same option. It wants us to update the security. Well, don't upgrade. We would just repeat the same things we just did. I'll choose agree. Yep, iCloud terms and conditions. All new prompts, I tell you what. Okay, new to iCloud. And yes, jbfeld43 at gmail.com. iCloud web only. So again, this could have been an email address that was created on appleid.apple.com, but never signed into an iPhone, Mac, or iPad, and it's only been an Apple account or an Apple ID back in the day. So now that iCloud is here, it's now only an iCloud web account because it's an Apple account. So again, it doesn't have the photos, it doesn't have the mail, any of that until I sign in to a physical device, and then it makes it a magical iCloud account, which then instead of having the 1 GB of storage here, you actually have 5 GB, which is equally as useless. So I think we've covered all of the scenarios of changing your Apple account to a different email address, regardless of what the email address actually is, an iCloud alias, a Gmail, Hotmail, Outlook, whatever it may be. And it looks like using your iPhone or iPad are the successful ways to best change your primary Apple account to another email address. And it has dramatically improved from what it used to be a year ago and 20 years ago. So thank you, Apple, for doing that. Maybe next on your list, just make it so you can merge them together. And then I can take all 20 some Apple accounts that I don't use and just squish them into one. So thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button below. If you learned something, share this with a friend. If you want to support my channel, feel free to hit that thanks button down there below as well. And thank you again so much. We'll see you next time.